All right. I think we're here. We're going to get started. Thank you guys so much. Such a great turnout. Thank you for coming out. Dr. Schrader had a great idea that we're adding to the hospital and expanding, and so it might be nice just to take a moment, a little step backwards, and to have everybody get to know each other. So we're just gonna, this is super informal, we're not gonna lecture at you, we're just gonna talk, I'll talk just a little bit about the history of Florida Wild, and then we'll start with whoever wants to go, and we'll talk just a little bit about ourselves, and then we can just open it up to visit, or if you have any questions for us, we're happy to answer. Hello. Hey, come on in. Here's their room. Hey. Right there. There's a chair right here. Wine and cheese around the corner on the back. What's the visit?
No, it's actually easier for me to manage this from down here. Thank you, though.
Okay, so I'm Dr. Erin Holder. I graduated from the University of Florida in 2002. But go Gators. But when I was in vet school in 1999, my parents and I actually purchased this entire corner, and it was slated to be torn down and destroyed by the city because they were going to use it as part of the bus station. And so we went to the city to ask them to release these properties to us so that we could create a nice buffer from what was going to be commercial property, the bus station. And so they did. And so we went ahead with the purchase of it. And these were about as dilapidated as you could possibly imagine. And so on my weekends and breaks from veterinary school, I would come over here, and my mom and I actually hand stripped all the wood in these two rooms that you see with the hot gun. Everything was painted white. The only thing, thank you God, that was not painted white were the ceilings. These floors are original in here, but these were apartment buildings, and they'd been apartment buildings for a very long time. They were just completely just demolished. The people that lived, I'm not sure if I should say this, but would pee in the courtyard. Oh. Yeah, lovely. So, I mean, that's what happens now. Yeah. Really. So you can imagine my worst case scenario. So we were in for a real treat when we started to rehab this building. We'd come in with masks on our faces and gloves on our hands, and literally many dumpsters later, we were able to clear it out. And so this was all why I was going to vet school. And still, even though at the time I thought I was going to open up my own practice, I still wasn't sure because I have a deep passion for zoo animals and exotic pets. And so I thought perhaps I would go down that route, but I also have a very deep love for traditional Chinese medicine and holistic medicine. So I was at a crossroads and not sure which way I was going to go, but in case I was going to open up a vet clinic, I was working very hard to get this property ready for it. So I graduated in 2002, and then in 2004, left the place that I was in Orlando with the intention to open up Florida Wild Veterinary Hospital. So 2 years out of vet school, I do not recommend that to anyone at any time ever, to open up a veterinary hospital 2 years out of vet school. But yeah, so back then I guess I had that ignorance as bliss, and it'll be great. I can do it. I can do anything, so I'm going to do it. But the intention of Florida Wild, and I'm just going to continue just to talk about the business itself, and then we'll let the other doctors talk. But the intention of the business, and I think all of you can appreciate, was to create a healing center for animals. And it's not a veterinary hospital. It wasn't designed to look like a veterinary hospital. It's designed to be a place where your animals feel comfortable, where everybody is treated with love and compassion and kindness. And so that's the goal that we have at Florida Wild Veterinary Hospital. And I think we do a really great job with that.
Yes.
You know, thank you. As we grow and get bigger, of course, we're always watching and monitoring, but it is certainly the goal. In addition to that, because I think everybody up on this, you know, whatever stage up here. All of us feel like we are healers. We want to be healers. We're looking for ways to heal. And I think that's the unique draw to Florida Wild Veterinary Hospital. And when you become a healer, you have to always think outside of the box. And so for me personally, veterinary medicine. So for me personally, veterinary medicine from the Western side did not provide me with what I felt was a healing foundation. I felt like it gave me amazing tools as a diagnostician, but I continually felt like we were giving drugs to suppress symptoms, and we were suppressing the immune system, and our pets were getting sicker and not healthier. And so I started my quest as soon as I graduated that school to try and learn as much as I can, and as still on the path, will always be on the path until I take my last breath, to learn as much as I can about healing. And so that's the foundation of how we started. And then it's so exciting to see all the people that want to join in on this, and all the people that are demanding more and better for their animals. And it just warms my heart. And so not only to see your awesome faces, but to have now veterinarians that are joining in this with me, because we are few and far between. We're excited we get to go to the Holistic Conference in September. It's my super happy place, and we get to see the veterinarians that are on the same page as us and preach the same thing as we do, but there's not a lot of us. So we get to go be together and share what we're learning and what we've come up with. So even though, which is scary, which Dr. Schrader said to talk about this, which is a great point, it's kind of scary because a lot of my clients have known me for so long, they're scared to venture out to other people. It's important to understand that when we hand select all the employees at Florida Wild, particularly the doctors, we do so with love, and we do so because they're very good at what they do, and because they're open to learning and starting to practice the way we do. And no, my newer amazing doctors may not be quite up to speed on traditional Chinese medicine or some of the other things we do, but they're asking us, and they're learning, and they want to, and they are too healers. And so the point of this whole conversation is just so that it's a family here. We're done growing. We can't grow any further. We're busting at the seams. We're not moving. We're not rebuilding. We're done. But for everybody to feel comfortable with everybody, and to ask us any questions that you have. And so on that note, I will turn it over to whoever wants to go next and talk about your. Okay.
Start this way and move our way down.
Do it. Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Okay. So I'll make it real fast because it's gonna get longer.
I always accuse us of that.
Okay. I am Dr. B is what I go by here, but my name's Serena Barbara. People get very confused and they're like, but what's your last name, Barbara? It's Barbara. And they get confused. So I just go by B for short. I am from Massachusetts. I went to undergrad at Stetson University, which is where I ended up meeting Dr. Schrader, because her husband was my, I guess, like, guidance professor. He helped guide me on what I wanted to do with my life. And I finally went into his office after multiple visits and was like, all right, I figured it out. I want to be a vet. And he was like, all right, I got someone I want to introduce you to. So then I met her, and she pretty much instantly became my mentor. And I spent a lot of time with her for the rest of my undergrad. And then I took a year off and worked as a veterinary technician. And then I went to vet school. I went to St. George's University in Grenada, and it was an amazing time. It's in the West Indies. It's a beautiful tropical island. And then I did my clinical year at University of Georgia. Welcome. Join the party.
Oh my God. Hi, Karen.
Hey, how are y'all?
There's treats in the back.
Yeah, there's mine that go the way that there's mine.
Sorry. Let's see. Right. So I was doing my final year at University of Georgia, and I emailed Schrader and was like, "Hey, we're overdue. I got to meet up with you. Where are you working? I want to come do an externship with you." So she told me, come on down to FloridaWild in DeLand. And I was like, DeLand? I've never thought I'd go back to DeLand. Okay. And I was like, all right, I can handle 2 weeks. So I showed up. I don't think I actually told any of you guys this story yet.
Yeah.
But I showed up for my first day of my externship here. And I get here and I'm like, what is this place? So this is a house. This is I was very confused, so I'm like walking through and I go into the funky butt and I was like, is this a reception? And they're explaining to me the whole thing and I was just like, and I thought to myself, I was like, this place is weird. I'm glad I don't work here. I literally said that in my head and then I was like, all right, cool. So, but then I spent 2 weeks here and got to know the doctors and the staff and what you guys are doing, and I was like, all right, this place is pretty cool. But still thought that'd be it and that I'd never really come back. And then I got a job offer and I was like, huh, all right, well,
First
I guess
extern
maybe I
who's
will.
ever come to FloridaWild and been offered a position, and we've had quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was literally offered the position, I think the day you were leaving.
Yeah.
We told you we were
And
interested in
at that point, I wasn't even halfway through my final year at school. I just started my final year, so jobs weren't really in my radar yet. I was just focusing on passing boards. So I wasn't even thinking about where I wanted to work yet. And then this came up and forced me to start thinking. So yeah, I decided to accept it, and I started here as soon as I graduated in June of last year. And I've been here for a little over a year now. And it's been quite a journey. Learning some interesting stuff from these ladies, but I have the best mentors, and yeah, they're teaching me all the things.
What are your passions?
All right, so I was really into shelter medicine for a bit. But then I kind of found myself leaning away from that just due to the limitations on what I could do with medicine with that. So I found myself doing a lot with the wildlife, and reptiles here have been awesome to work with. They've taught me a lot.
No one in the back can hear you.
Okay, yeah, we need a microphone. Right, so I've been working a lot with wildlife, and the reptiles have been a big thing, and then geriatric dogs and cats have always been my thing as well, because I've always rescued the seniors. So yeah, and now I'm working on some ultrasound is what I'm focusing on these days. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. B. All right, Dr. Baker.
Okay. Well, so I'm Dr. Baker. I'm not Dr. B. I'm just Baker. Spot's taken. I'm Julia as well. And I graduated. I've always been in Florida my whole life. So I'm from Sarasota, and I went to University of Central Florida for my undergraduate, where I went to their honors college and studied biology. And I ended up at the University of Florida for veterinary school, which was an amazing, amazing, wonderful opportunity. I did not always know that I wanted to be a veterinarian. I've been very interested in many things in my life. And it wasn't until the last year of my undergraduate that I realized that there was not a single profession I looked into that could meet all of the passions that I have. And when I stumbled my way into a veterinary office and looking into medicine in that area, being able to serve people, being able to serve the animals that I love, working in medicine in a constantly evolving field, and finding a way to be a teacher and a communicator and help that area evolve in a way that could benefit myself, my clients, the animals. I was like, I could do this for 100 lifetimes and always be learning and always be excited. There was nothing else I could possibly do with my life. So luckily I found it. I worked really hard to get into veterinary school in a tighter time period than most people who have a few years or more of work under their belt before they go to vet school. And I got into UF, and it's amazing. It's an amazing program. I learned so much there. That's actually how I lucked into finding FloridaWild. I've always had an interest in exotics as well as normal general practice care, and Dr. Holder comes and helps teach our avian medicine courses in bird medicine surgery at the University of Florida. And she came by and just dropped a quick comment at the end of the lecture that, by the way, you know, FloridaWild might be looking to bring in a new University of Florida graduate to mentor and welcome under their wing. And I wasn't even in class that day. I was studying for other things, I promise. But when I got to that video recording,
But she good.
I got to the end, and that last 2 minutes, only half of it recorded. And I was like, wait, this is it. This is my moment. I missed it. And I immediately found the information and contacted Dr. Holder and said that I would just love to come learn and come meet them, maybe do an externship. And we started our interview process very early in my 4th year of vet school. And this is a hospital unlike any other. I looked at a lot of different places for both job offers and went to a lot of externships. And there's a way that medicine's taught to us right now, and there's a formula for hospitals and medicine that works for humans and animals in some ways. But when I found FloridaWild, I was sold on like a spiritual level. There's a different form of healing, like you said here. And I knew I had to learn from this hospital. I had to grow here. I couldn't just try to be myself somewhere else. I needed to thrive here. And I met Dr. Hathaway and Dr. Schrader and Dr. Holder, and it's like, oh, these people, they don't even know it yet, but they're like my work moms. And I'm going to learn so much. And I've been a student all my life. My real mother, who's here today, she's a teacher 40 years. And so I love being a student. I love having teacher moms. So this is my home. This is where, yes. This is where I'm going to grow into the doctorate. Never dreamt that I could be. So I love being here. I love caring for your animals and your babies. It's been amazing. So.
Okay, so I'll talk about myself. Try to be brief about it, but just so you know, she's laughing at me. One thing that's important for you to know, as I'm thinking about all these things, is that we have doctor's rounds. We have them once a week, and we meet with each other, and we talk about the new things that we want to talk about. We talk about cases that are very difficult for us. That's the official time that we get to sit down.
Yeah.
But we are constantly collaborating together. And these new grads, new grad, are so great about consulting with the senior doctors to get help with their cases and to find out what they should do. So that you are in absolutely fantastic hands. And so maybe you really want to come in and see Dr. Hathaway, but she's busy, and you're not sure to come in and see Dr. Baker. She's new, but you can rest assured that Dr. Baker is going to consult with Dr. Hathaway about a case, particularly if Dr. Hathaway's been the senior veterinarian on that
And
case.
she might have some better ideas because
Correct.
she just got out of school.
Yes, so it's always nice for us to
been a while.
collaborate and to use different brains.
Yeah.
Okay, so veterinarian was not on my radar at all. I started out at Georgia Tech for engineering. I was going to be an environmental engineer and save the environment because, right, that's what environmental engineers do. So I got a job working for an environmental engineering firm in Kennesaw, and I was a cooperative student, so every other quarter I would go work for them. And I realized quickly that Exxon was paying for my bills and putting me up in my hotel rooms. There's Amber Alert. Yeah, that's buzzing.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Wade County, if anybody
Yeah.
cares.
It's Amber Alert. So my little dreams were shattered because I was like, what the heck? I am working for these big giant corporations who are polluting the environment as I go to, bail out the wells and take the soil samples and the water samples. And so then I was back to the drawing board, and I love biology, and I got great grades in the life sciences, and I don't know why I didn't turn to them, but I didn't. So I would happen to be in the middle of a career crisis. What am I going to do? I've always had a path. I'm very, very driven. And what am I going to do? And I'm at a party, and a lady leans across the table and says, hey, my daughter just graduated from vet school out of nowhere. And I was like, oh, vet school. So 2 weeks later.
That's so you.
Right.
That's so you.
2 weeks later, I had an appointment at the University of Florida to take a tour. Of it, 3 weeks later, I spent my first
You were
day.
all in.
Yeah. Right. No, not yet, not yet. 3 weeks later, I had an appointment to go and meet with a veterinarian around the corner, and she happened to be super cool, and I really liked her. But I was very afraid of blood, and I thought, oh my God, I can't do this. Blood is terrifying. No way. And so it was a Saturday, and so she says, you're in luck, we've got a tumor removal, and you can see the surgery. And so I said, sweet Jesus. Yeah. Oh my God. So she's performing surgery, and I decided to stand over in the corner up against the wall like this. And I decided this is going to make or break me. And so as she starts to dissect this giant Rottweiler's mass off of its chest, I just walked straight to it and never looked back, and was like, called my parents and said, I'm going to be a veterinarian. Transferred to Stetson University because this is a place where my parents graduated from college, so we had a history here. Finished my last 3 semesters and was very fortunate to get accepted to the University of Florida right away. So I graduated from UF in 2002. Like I said, super interest in zoo medicine. Made great friends with the Zoo and Wildlife Department, and thought that was going to be my path, but it turned out that my really big passion, I didn't want to turn away from companion animals because I like the relationship that I have with my clients. I love that relationship. And when I worked in the zoos, I did not have that relationship with the zookeepers. And so that interaction that I have, and it's why I'm always running late, because I love to talk to my clients, and my technicians I always get in trouble. They always yell at me. But it's a huge, important part of what I do, is to interact with the clients. So like I said, we rehabbed this godforsaken building, put the connection right where right past the exit, right there. That's actually an addition on. We connected these 2 buildings and tried to make it look original. And another fun fact about Florida Wild is when you walked into the bottom, the ceilings were very short, and there was no way that we could operate without a bottom floor. So we went to the contractor and we said, we're going to dig out the floor. And the contractor said, no, you're not. And so we said, you're fired. So we talked to the contractor. We said, we're going to dig out the floor. The contractor said, all right. So we dug out a foot, 18 inches of the entire property. We held it up with concrete footers all around. And then we rebuilt the concrete walls around it, and then we laid the concrete floor. That's why when you walk into the building, you're on a ramp, and you're ramping down, because we had to get that so we can get the height. The city turned a blind eye to a lot that we did. I don't know if they would do it now, but they did at the time. We got a lot of things grandfathered in at Florida Wild, like no elevator. Okay, so yeah, anyway. Maybe I shouldn't say that loud line. Okay. All right. So anyway, in 2002, I graduated. I was all about starting Florida Wild Veterinary Hospital. I had already named it. In 2004, May 1st, we did officially open up our doors. And I decided that it wasn't enough to start up a business. I'm going to go ahead and get acupuncture certified as well. So I graduated a second class at the Chi Institute, which is now a huge international acupuncture school, and I'm very blessed to continue to be a part of it. I got acupuncture certified. I am currently in December, will have gotten my Chinese, after all these years, will have gotten my Chinese herbal certification. And I do a little bit of homeopathy on the side, but haven't studied it. So it's a lot. It's exciting. I literally exhaust these beautiful women on my right and my left because I come in and I go, guess what we're doing now? And they're all like, sweet. But they're awesome and they hang in there with me. And so we have a really great team.
And Dr. Shea speaks very highly of you.
Oh,
No, he does.
thank you.
I know that.
Thank you so much. I love him. Okay, so I'm done. That was fast.
Okay, so I'm Jessica Hathaway. I am from upstate New York, so Yankee, sorry, or you're welcome, depending. So I knew from about 14 years of age that I wanted to be a veterinarian because I finally found something that combined science and continual learning with animals and nature, like all in this huge big way. And I just said, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I came to Florida for undergrad. That's a whole long story. Ended up meeting my husband who worked on the shuttle program and still continues to work in the space program. But then applied to vet school and got in at Cornell. So I went to Cornell, graduated in 2000. When I got out, I knew I was going to move back to Florida because of the shuttle program and my husband, and looked at a whole bunch of places, and we kind of drew a circle on a map. And DeLand was at the very outskirts of the circle of reasonable job commute for him or for me, and came here and just fell in love with the town. Like, absolutely fell in love with it. So moved here right after graduation. I've lived here for 19 years now. Watched this lady builder practice with a mixture of awe, envy, and jealousy. I remember when she moved to town, and I was like, oh, wow. I initially worked in another practice in town for a couple of years, and then mostly worked on the East Coast, East Volusia, or doing relief work when my kids were little. And the whole time that I was practicing, two things would come up. Well, so one was always that I would just wonder, well, why? Why am I treating these diseases? Why are things sick? Why is this happening? Why are there allergies? You know, these just questions in the back of your mind. And two, I always knew I wanted to do acupuncture, but every time I looked at the cost of the program and tried to think about starting it anywhere else, I knew that there was no feasible way to do it and make it worth spending all that money and time and energy. And I guess it was 7 or 8 years ago, I did some relief here, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a practice I'm going to want to work at. But it still didn't work out for a little while. And so finally it has, and I've been certified, and the kind of medicine that we do here is something that I've always wanted to do, because we're listening to you, to your pets, and to the situation, and we're trying to understand why things happen. We're trying to keep your pets well. So that's not the same as treating illness. We're not just throwing vaccines at them. We're not just throwing medicines at them. We're trying to understand, well, why does your dog keep getting diarrhea all the time? Why does your dog have allergies or get welts all the time? And it's a hard thing because a lot of even the most intelligent people in the field really aren't doing that stuff yet. So it's hard, and it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of thought, but we're all really happy and really honored to do it. And so what I find here is that I love our little homey practice and our non-conventional approach to things, and the ability to sort of help you and talk with you and really find out the specifics of your situation and try to help troubleshoot and see how we can keep your pets feeling as well as they can and performing as well as they can if they're active, dogs that go to dog shows or do agility, and just really try to find out how we can keep these pets feeling as well as they can for as long as possible, and have that conclusion of, we know we did the best thing and had this pet have its best life. So I'm really honored to be here, and I'm glad that I finally landed here, because it's the type of medicine that my soul has looked for my whole life, but I was really never able to find. And so I think that's about it. My passions are what? I think my passion really right now is Chinese medicine. I'm currently enrolled in some herbal courses to get stronger at that, and I just love acupuncture. I had it for myself way before I was ever certified, and it works. I was reminded of that this week. I went and I had some acupuncture treatments for my back, and magically I felt better. You know, it's not fake. It's not placebo effect. It's real. So that's my major passion, but I'm happy to go along for the ride with this one wherever she travels. And we have a lot of fun. I think the biggest thing is none of us will ever be bored, and also none of us will ever rest. You know, we really do care when it comes to something that's a problem. If something comes in and no one's been able to fix it or figure it out, we want to. And so I'm not going to pretend that we're superhuman, but we want to do the work, and that's really a huge part of the battle. So I'm really happy to be here because I know that I'm never going to be bored, or I'm never going to feel like I'm sitting on my haunches ever again. So.
There you go. So yeah, I knew I wanted to be a vet from the time I was tiny. I never remember wanting to do anything else, and I don't really even remember why. You know, I just have always wanted to do it. I started out working at horse farms when I was 12 or 13, and I worked every single day. I went out and mucked the stalls, and I got to start delivering foals. And and help with the vet would come out, and I loved it. I was happy to work every day because I loved it so much. And I just knew that that I wanted to be able to do all the things. If I'm going to work with them, I need to be able to know all the things and do all the things. So I have to go to vet school, right? I've got to know how to do all the things. And so there was never a question for me. I went on and did shelter medicine stuff for a while and some wildlife stuff for a while, and I graduated from University of Florida, go Gators, in 95. I'm the old lady in the practice.
Sorry. Oh, you're really going. You're good. Okay. Here, you can come sit here. I'll switch to the other side. Yeah, you're good. Oh, hi, baby. Come on, baby. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sit. 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 Come on, sit.
So I graduated from UF in 95, and I ended up going on and doing internships in emergency medicine because in emergency medicine you could do everything, and I couldn't figure out which thing I liked, but I wanted to specialize in. I wanted to do a really high level of medicine, so I just wanted to keep learning and doing stuff, and you could do everything with emergency medicine. So I did that for quite a number of years, and was at some big referral practices and universities, and I always felt like there were things that I was missing. There were connections that I couldn't make with some. I always wanted to be very observant and think outside of the box and do everything that I could for my patients. And there were always things that I just couldn't quite manage with just my strictly Western medicine training. And so I did just strictly Western medicine and kind of referral care for the first 15-ish years of my career, and kind of bounced around the country doing that some. But I was always the vet in practice that was looking into alternative things and holistic things and acupuncture. And I was the one vet in town that the holistic doctor would talk to, because I was the one Western doctor who was always open to all of their modalities, and we would work together to manage everything. But I never had mentors to really teach me all of those modalities. I was sort of self-taught. I just sort of reached for them on my own because I wanted more tools to help my patients than I had in traditional Western medicine. So I ended up specializing in surgery and critical care and ultrasound, and because I just always wanted to be learning, and dabbled in the other things on my own. And then Dr. Holder and I started talking one day about whether or not I was going to join him over here, and she and I we sat down to chat for a little bit over lunch, and we talked for I was like, I'm really into this and this, and she's like, and I love this and I love this, and we just started, and it was like 3-4 hours later finally we're like, oh well, I guess yeah, maybe we should work together and do some things.
But the preface was because I very much admired her work and sent my patients to her for ultrasound, admired her in all the ways. And so when I sat down with her, I was a little anxious because we're not your typical practice. And so I think the first thing I said to her was, do you know that we're weird?
So,
Are you
yes,
okay?
that's why I like you.
Yeah.
So when I joined Dr. Boulder, we've had so much fun because she has been a phenomenal mentor for me in all of the alternative things that I've been trying to self-teach for so many years, and now I've got somebody who's been doing it and become acupuncture trained and Chinese medicine trained. And Chinese medicine, I love it because it connects the dots that I couldn't connect with Western medicine. You know, I'm very into observing my patients and doing a good physical exam and really paying attention to my patients. And traditional Western knowledge just couldn't connect all the dots, and Chinese medicine can. And so it's fascinating. It's fascinating for me to enter into that type of medicine and have Dr. Holder to help me with that. I love adding that into the type of practice that I do. And she and I have fun that you know, as I joined her here, like I could ultrasound and do all these things. And she's like, oh, you know, I would see this from my Chinese medicine diagnosis, and then we'll ultrasound and we'll look at all the insides and we can draw all the connections between all these things. We just have, you know,
Very
so much fun.
Superpowers.
Very synergistic. We've had a lot of fun. And so yeah, it's the practice that I've always been looking for, the kind of medicine I've always been wanting to do. And I think that we're just really lucky to have a group of doctors that all share those strengths. It's a really uncommon thing in a medical practice. You know, and Dr. Holder and I at first felt like we struck gold. That we're like, oh, we work so well together. This is awesome. And then when Hathaway, I was like, oh, well, we need Hathaway, of course, because who doesn't, right? And then when Dr. B came to extern with us, she's very humble. She's, you know, I've trained at some of the referral practices I was in charge of the intern program, so I would take in all of the new young cream of the crop from all the different schools. I would have multiple interns every year from you know, the top people in their class from all the schools. I've mentored dozens and dozens and dozens of them. And B is better than any of them. She's phenomenal. She's been following me since she was a little tiny thing, and yeah, a little tiny thing. And she's very humble, but she's just one of the most talented doctors that you're ever going to come across. And we're trying to teach her a few things while she's here too. But as she came to extern, I was really excited to see. I hadn't seen her for a couple years, and she was at vet school, and I was like, you seem pretty put together. When I sent you off to vet school, I was anxious to see what she had learned. And she came back, and Erin and I looked at each other and we're like, yeah, we need to hire her. And we're like, yeah. So we didn't even let her leave before we made sure we gave her a job offer to try and keep her. And Dr. Baker, you know, we felt like, okay, we don't want to get so big that we can't still have the personal relationship with our clients and take care of them, be truly caregivers. We don't want to get too big, but still need a little more help. So we, when we were looking for one more doctor, as I was talking to candidates and stuff, and I remember talking to Dr. Baker, and I was like, okay, so they got to know what they're in for coming here. This is not your traditional practice, and we're going to make you, like, you got to love it or you're not going to survive here. And I remember talking to her and saying, listen, you're going to do Western medicine and alternative medicine and every single species. Learning, and we're always studying, and we're here late, and we go home at night and we're reading, and we're not doing it because we feel like we have to, we're doing it because we love it. And we're doing it, and I thought I was going to completely scare her away, like all of the stuff she was going to. Yeah, I tried to scare her away. Yeah, and everybody else that we had talked to was like, yeah, okay, I'll call you if I do, and they would hang up. And so I remember talking to her and telling her all this stuff that you got to do and you want to learn, and she was like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. And I was like, okay, right. And she fits in perfectly. So yeah, I just feel very lucky to have this group.
Oh my goodness, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, to provide what we are trying to do for you guys, and it's important to us to still have to be caregivers and have that connection with our clients. And part of the reason we're doing this is we felt like, you know, we've gotten bigger. We went from 2 to 5, like doctors, really fast, and that can be scary for some of our clients. You know, are you becoming impersonal? Are you becoming too big? And so we wanted to explain to you sort of where we're at and who we are, so that you understand that is still a huge priority for us. We just needed a few more of us to be able to keep up with all of Dr. Holder's crazy ideas that we keep chasing.
And to keep treating the acute medical things like that's, I think the thing that I love the most about this is every other job I looked at that had anything to do with holistic or integrative fields, it really involved giving up the Western medicine. And I couldn't, that's what I knew.
Right.
But I wanted to make my Western medicine better and different. And so like that's the thing that's good here is I can do an ultrasound and tell you what's wrong with your dog. We can do surgery and fix something. You know, it's not giving it up and just saying we can only do this one thing, but please find another doctor for those other things. We try very, very, very hard to do all the things here that we can for your pets. And I like that. It makes me feel better about what I can offer.
Yeah. And thanks for explaining that. Because,
this is
you
really
know, because we're coming back for him, it's like, wow, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and we
so
could feel that
Yeah.
from everybody. That's why we were like, let's talk to everybody. Let's let them know our vision.
I was at home and I was watching the feed.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be here. I planned to be here, but then I had my eyes dilated.
Hours ago.
Oh my goodness. And I'm like, I can't see it. But I'm watching this at home and I'm like, no, I want to be there. I want to be there. I want to see them. I want to meet them. I want to feel them. I'm so glad that we came.
Oh, good. Thanks for coming.
So question from online as far as what pets do y'all see? So like if their primary doctor isn't here, like species wise, who can they see?
Everything.
Everybody, everything, we're gonna treat
I-
on an emergency basis every
I've owned pretty much every single critter.
except cows and horses and goats.
Correct.
Pigs.
Well, we won't
And
say
bats.
those, right? But yeah, and yeah,
I mean, certainly on an emergent basis, we wear so many hats already trying to do really high level Western medicine and alternative medicine. Some of us have different specialties. I mean, we all have various specialties, and so with emergent things, all of us can manage the emergent things. You know, we may end up saying, you know what, Dr. Holder is a specialist in this particular avian thing. We're going to have you follow up with her and you know, get you to the doctor that has got the more experience in that. But all of us can pretty much handle all species,
Except for large animals.
yeah.
I mean, I guess we have a weight. We have a weight limit, maybe. Just like
No pigs.
no.
No rhinos.
No livestock.
No livestock.
If it fits through the front gate.
Well,
But
I think
yeah.
But yeah, I think everybody's yeah.
You can see a cow.
Good question.
Yeah.
Yes, good question.
Any other questions that you have for us?
I just have a comment. I've known you for quite a while. I have great respect for you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
One of the things I like most about coming here is it's so transparent and accessible. And by that I mean, when I work with any one of you, I know I'm working with all of you.
That is true.
That is our goal, and we very much appreciate that comment.
Can y'all repeat what she said? Just
Yeah.
only because I want people to hear what that was.
So our lovely Janice Spencer, who's been a client of Florida Wilds for over a decade, just told us that she appreciated that she and understood that we are transparent, and that if she comes in to see one of us, she is getting to see all of us, because we constantly talk about your cases down below.
Yeah, constantly.
And it's good to work so well together.
It is remarkable.
We
went on the hunt for a third
Yeah.
veterinarian. I told Dr. Schrader, no way, no how, we cannot find another one. And then when we found the fifth, I said, there's absolutely no way we're going to find a fifth veterinarian to fit in with our person. It is so rare. It is amazing. We get along so well. And we all appreciate
And your
each
staff
other's
as
knowledge.
well.
Thank you.
Your staff is awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Speaking of our staff, we do have our assistant manager back there, Tasha, recently got a promotion. She's been with me for 10.
Today makes.
Today's her anniversary.
Today's your anniversary?
Yup.
Happy anniversary! We threw a party in your honor. Yay. How many? 10? 9? 7. Feels like 10.
At least 10.
Feels like 10. She's my right hand lady, so whenever I'm looking for something, I say, Tasha. Literally, that's exactly what I do. And yeah, and so she's amazing. And so we're super happy and excited that she got promoted to assistant manager and in charge of training. So all the amazing staff that we have that bless their hearts. I mean, we just had 2 working interviews yesterday, and they sort of just come downstairs and they're kind of like, because it is fast-paced and busy, and just, they're seeing things that they've never seen before at different practices, and they have no idea what they're looking at. It's intimidating. So Tasha takes all these guys and leads them by the hand and tries to bring them up to the knowledge level that we require before they can interact with the client, and that's a huge task. We appreciate it.
And I can honestly say that from being here and seeing all of the changes that FloridaWild has gone through, Dr. Ward has finally gotten what she has always wanted out of her staff and out of her doctors, and the practice is finally what she envisioned in the beginning.
Thank you, Tasha. She knows just how I'm feeling. Yeah.
What is an externship? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. An externship is, I don't know why they call it in vet school. So an internship is after you graduate, and that's for a solid year. The externship is while you're in vet school. And I guess they just differentiate it somehow, but we have a lot of externs that come through FloridaWild, and they'll come. We had quite a bit from Auburn because of Dr. Mason. You can leave your experience, and so then people will read it and they'll come in and learn. And so we have University of Florida and Auburn students that will come. They come in and learn from us 2 to 4 weeks usually. And LSU. It's a great experience for them to get to do that, especially if they're interested in private practice.
It's just like a for credit learning experience in a real practice.
Like a formal education outside of vet school, essentially, where you can go into the real world.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Anything else?
We love you.
Yes, we do.
Thank you guys all for.
Yeah, thanks so much for being a part of our family. We're deeply appreciative. Of course, we wouldn't be here without you.
We're so very fortunate to have you in our community. I've told you that over and over and over.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah, we
move.
love the community.
Literally, I can't move.
You're not just a lamb, there's so many parts of Florida where this is working.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't mean, I can't move physically because I would leave my bed.
Oh, my legs are fine and my body's fine.
I have my sweet clients from South Carolina who literally purchased an RV when they decided to move to South Carolina. They purchased an RV to bring their animals back to me. So
So many people coming from East Volusia to drive up here.
wow, yeah.
We're grateful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Drink
you.
the wine. If you don't, we will. Woo-hoo.
So glad I made it.
Oh, wait, one more second. I totally meant to put a plug in for a new group that I just learned about, shame on me, but they're just trying to get the word out. It's a group called Holistic Actions. Please Google them. They invite every type of person interested in holistic medicine and homeopathy. You do not have to be a veterinarian. You do not have to have any education. We do webinars every Monday night. I just listened to their Bach Essence Flower webinar on Monday night. It was fantastic. FloridaWild is going to start participating in giving some lectures with them, but do go and look that up if you're interested. There's a membership fee. I think it's like $50 a month, but the amount of information is phenomenal.
What's it called?
Holistic Actions. Holistic Actions. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Thank
Thank you.
Really, really good.